Steve, like I just said, excited about this combo. It's something different. Like I said, I usually have tradesmen, linemen. The audience, like we were talking about, is primarily linemen, trades workers, a lot of like young kids looking to get into the trades too. That's what's so interesting as well. The first thing they do is get on the interwebs and Google, like, how do I get into line work? And this is something that pops up so often. It's their first entry point, which is really, awesome. Really cool.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. Love it. Thank you.
Cool. What's something I need to know about your past that helps me understand kind of who you are today?
Is this pre-show conversation still? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I was born and raised in Southern California, blue collar family. One thing that I had 5 brothers and sisters, and my parents both had jobs. And I was basically told that, Stephen, if you want something in life, you've got to go get it. No one's going to give you anything in life, and you've got to work hard, and you have to figure it out, and you have to make it happen. And I took that as, obviously your parents know everything. And so that's what I did. And I wanted to do one thing in life, and that was be a pilot. So I went to school. I worked as hard as I could. I doubled up both flying and studying at the same time. Most people do it sequentially. I did it both at the same time. And at 25 years old, I became the second youngest person hired by a particular major airline. I was 25. I was flying all over the world. I got based in Guam. So I was flying out in the South Pacific, all over Australia, Asia, all that. And,
how does that happen? Because did you just say yes to everything? Because again, addressing those young guys, and they often ask all the time, how do I get into the trade? Or they say, I'm really struggling finding work, finding a job. And I always say, like, you got to leave your local area. You got to maybe go 5, 6, 7, 10 states away to get that work.
And a lot of lessons that I've learned today, I did back then, but I didn't realize I was doing them, right? I was just doing massive amounts of work. I was moving mountains. I was sending out almost 100 resumes a month all over the world. I didn't care where I went. I was sending out resumes. I was working for an airline called TWA, which is no longer in existence. And I was living in Huntington Beach, California, and I was based out of JFK. And so every week I had to commute to JFK to start my trips. And 5-6 hour flight. And that was my library. And I would fold and stamp my resumes. And every month, hundreds of resumes would go out. And I thought, they're either going to bring me in for an interview, they're going to tell me to leave them alone, or they're going to send me a restraining order. One of those things are going to happen before I get a job. And everyone else in that industry that was flying was like, oh, we're going to stay here at this job for a while, try to enjoy it. And I thought, no way. This is a stepping stone. I am on the move. I am moving. And again, now we hear about a lot of these things. At the time, I was just doing massive amounts of action. I didn't know if it was right. I didn't know if it was wrong. You didn't have the social media back then to judge you. I just knew my parents said, if you want something, go get it. And so that's what I did. And I didn't know anyone at the company. I didn't have family in aviation. I knew nothing about it. I just knew I wanted to fly. So I got hired, went to Guam. I was out there for 3.5 years, flew all over, Australia, Indonesia, Bali, Hong Kong, all that. Great experience. And I remember everybody saying, Steve, you're set. You're in a huge union. You're working for a major airline. Nothing can go wrong. You're set for life. Yeah. And I thought, yeah, I am. And I took my foot off the gas of trying to be a better version of myself. I said, that's it. I'm done. Check the box. I'm good. October 2001, I decide I'm going back to the States. This particular company I worked for had no bases, pilot bases in Southern California. So Houston was the base. So I'm going to Houston. So I go to Houston. My stuff is literally on the ship en route from Guam, which takes about 8 weeks. 9/11 hits. 2 days after the towers fell, I get called into an office and they said, basically, thanks for your time, but you're furloughed. We don't need you anymore. We need your ID, need your badge, need everything. Take care. When it's time, we'll call you back because you're a union. But could be, this is 9/11. This is unprecedented. We don't know what it is. So good luck. And I remember when I got escorted out of the building and I'm standing there waiting for a taxi. I remember thinking to myself, I didn't cause any of this. The whole world was in turmoil. But now I'm a victim of this. I'm affected by this. And I remember standing there. It's like clear as day. And I remember thinking to myself, well, maybe, what am I going to do till I get my job back? It could be months. It could be years. Airlines could not exist anymore because they just use them as weapons. So I thought, maybe I could open a gym. Maybe I could be an entrepreneur. And I thought to myself, that's not me. Like, that's not who I am. I'm a pilot. Like, that's my identity. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, and maybe this is for the audience, like it kept me stuck. It held me captive because it told me, stay in your lane, Steve. You don't deserve that other life. Like, that's not for you. You're a pilot. You get furloughed, and those are the cards you're dealt, and that's who you are. And my identity of who I was I flew a route. I had a steady paycheck. I was on the longevity trail. That was the identity. But I started realizing that it wasn't just scary to keep that belief pattern. It was dangerous. And the reason it was dangerous is because I was always going to be a victim if something happened. If there was another twist in the system, another 9/11, something, I was at the mercy of someone. And I realized it was my fault in the sense that I allowed myself to let my foot up off the gas because I believed what everyone else told me. Once I got furloughed, they were like, oh, sorry. I'm like, but I thought you said I was secure. Yeah, I was wrong. And I realized no one is going to care more about my life than me.
Yeah.
When I was standing outside the building and thinking to myself, if I'm not that person anymore, if I'm not that identity, then who am I? Who am I? And for people that have gone through this, that's when fear started whispering in my ear and saying, like, Steve, you're nobody. You will fail if you try anything else, so don't. And I remember just it was really a tough time for me because my identity was I'm a pilot, but I'm not a pilot anymore.
I think every tradesman can relate to that. And especially just because I know it for a fact, linemen relate to that. Line work is like one of these industries, one of these trades that, like a pilot, you attach your identity to it.
Yeah.
So like once you're a lineman, if somebody asks who you are, I'm a lineman.
Yeah.
I'm a journeyman lineman.
Yeah.
Back off. And that's just who you become.
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision. And the decision is I either had to kill off the past identity that I had because I was no longer that person. And I had to step into a new identity that I didn't know. Or I had to keep living that day after day after day.
You're thinking this like 10 minutes after you're let go?
It was very, it was like, it seems like a blended, but it was like that day.
That's wild.
It was, the thoughts that were rushing through my mind. I think of things kind of like a chess match. I try to think about 8-10 steps ahead. So I'm thinking of these things. And I thought that identity is what's keeping me small. It's keeping me scared, and it's keeping me from the life that I really wanted. Because as time went on, and this started evolving, I didn't just sit there and make that decision that day. There's some, it ruminated a little bit. And I remember seeing other people, right? I started being aware of my surroundings, and I would see people with the life and the toys and the cars and I'm like, why can't I have that? Like, why do they have that and not me?
Where are you seeing this? Like, because just for people, like, no social media exists.
Yeah,
really,
no
right?
social media. This is just, you see
like,
people that you know.
Yeah.
You're driving around, you're looking at houses. You're kind of like, you're almost like you step back a little bit. So you're looking at more like the 10,000 foot view, kind of like probably when you're on a pole, you can see things differently than when you're down on the ground.
100%.
So I just kind of like I would just drive around and think for the day, days and days. I would drive around and think, and I'm like, why can't I have that? And that was when I said, I have to kill off that old identity. That's not me anymore. The new identity is I can be successful. I can have anything what I want. I can live my life on my terms. And I will never, ever, ever let someone dictate my life or my success again. Like I'm done. And I didn't want to be a victim. I'm like, I own it. It's my fault.
Are you reading books at this time that are telling you that?
It's funny you say that. So I go to this building with books called a library. Most people don't know about that these days. I get a library card. I read a book a week for a year. And everything I wanted to read was on building wealth. What do people do? Because I was in this, quote unquote, like this vacuum of being a pilot. And everything that I read somehow intertwined to be towards real estate. I knew nothing about real estate. I didn't even understand it. I barely just bought a house that I didn't even know if I could afford anymore. My stuff is still en route from Guam. So I'm living in like, a air mattress. And, for like you said, the identity for people watching, the thing that I did, I started asking a different question to myself. And I've learned a lot of the things that I didn't know at the time. But if we ask a different question, we'll get different answers. If we keep doing the same input in life, we're going to keep getting the same output. And so I thought, instead of saying, what if I fail? I started saying, like, what if I succeed? Like, what if I can actually do this?
That's the mindset shift?
That was the shift. And I remember I was sitting at the library reading a book because I had nothing else to do. And I remember just thinking, like, what if I succeed? Like, I remember reading a book. It was like, ask a different question, get a different answer. And I was like, I don't understand what he's saying. Like, that's stupid, I
like that.
And so I just asked myself a different question. Instead of saying, like, how can I afford it? Like, okay, what can I do to afford this? And then
no, for real though, like that's actually a great, like, that's a shift. Cause you'll sit there, like myself, I'll sit there and ask myself the same question 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I like that. Just ask yourself a different question.
Ask a different question, get a different answer. And so I thought, I'm going to ask something different. What if I succeed? What if I can actually do this? Yeah. And now, that I know this, I boiled it down to 4 things that I did. And I wish I could say I thought this through. It was right. It wasn't. I'm not that smart. I'm just a person that reads and learns. And so the first thing I did is I stopped lying to myself. I stopped telling myself I'm just a pilot, because that was an excuse and it was a lie. Because I had the focus, I had the discipline, I had the knowledge, I had the ability to do anything everyone else doing. I just had to stop lying to myself as an excuse, because I'd always say, like, oh, that's okay, I'm happy where I am. And I finally started saying, like, that's not true. Like, I want that. And so sometimes in life, I've learned we have to, once we're given permission, give permission to ourselves to actually say what we want. Different things happen as opposed to lying to ourselves. So the first thing I did is I stopped lying to myself. The second thing I did is I took back that fear. Fear and doubt are so dangerous because they can be so convincing. They make us make decisions, not do something, fear of this, fear of that. But when you think of fear, you can't see it, can't touch it, can't taste it. We can't even quantify and say there's fear. Yeah. But yet we let it drive our decisions every day. We always think of what could go wrong. And I started thinking, what if we have this wrong? What if being fearful was actually a sign that we're on the right path? What if it means we're 6 inches from gold? Because we think of fear as a bad thing.
That's asking a different question.
It's asking a different question. Why am I feeling this? Maybe I'm closer. Maybe it's a guide saying, Steve, you're 6 inches. You are 6 inches from gold. And again, I'm not saying I knew all this at the time, but What I realized is the person that I wanted to become, the person that the successful version of Steve, he wasn't living back in Guam. He wasn't living in 2000. He wasn't behind me in the rearview mirror. He was in front of me, and he was beyond fear and doubt. I had to push through that to actually meet that person. And I would have never have met that person. I probably would not be here today. I wouldn't be coaching.
How did you do that?
I just kept moving. I asked different questions.
Taking action?
I took action and I asked different questions. I kept pushing through and not letting fear control me. You know, we always think of Elon Musk or Walt Disney. You know, Walt Disney was turned down, I think 302 times before he ever got a bank loan.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Was there fear and doubt? You've got to imagine at some point he may say, okay, maybe a mouse is a stupid idea. Maybe this just isn't going to float, right? But then you think, what if he gave into that fear and Disneyland never existed? Yeah. Or Elon Musk or Steve Jobs? How many other inventions and ideas are out there that are in the graveyard that we will never meet? Or the version of those successful people? Because everything is a learned skill, right? When you're born, we're all born pretty much equal. Yeah. Everything, learned communicating, learned leadership, all of that is learned. And so obviously I've done a lot of self-education, and I'm a big believer in self-development, and I coach, hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs on this. But what I've learned is, why do we let fear stop us? Why do we let it have that grip? And what I realized is, the more I pushed against it and asked different questions, the more it kind of loosened its grip on me. And the more it loosened its grip, the more I was able to take the first step and the second step and the third step. And as you gain that momentum, fear gets crushed by momentum. And the last thing I did is I learned that words are so powerful. The words we say are based on our beliefs and our thoughts. But the words we say cause our actions, and then our actions cause our patterns. And our patterns form our lives. Eating McDonald's every day is probably a bad pattern, I would say, if you're trying to be healthy. So I stopped saying words that were diminishing. I stopped saying, I'm just a pilot. I started saying, I'm a business owner. Even I didn't think it was true. Even though I did not realize what I was saying, I would show up at events, I would say I'm a business owner, even though I'm thinking they can see right through me and they know I'm not that guy. But what I realized is, the more I showed up as that person, the more real it became. And the more people saw me that way. And the more people realized, like, wow, there's that guy. He's the pilot, and he's also, this entrepreneur. And eventually I did get my flying job back. I still do it to this day. I love it.
No kidding.
I still do it to this day. Yeah. I fly Boeing 777 all over the world. And I coach hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs of all walks of life, all over the world, actually. So whenever someone says they can't do it, I'm like, don't say you can't. Just tell me you choose not to, because you can do anything you want. It's just not a priority. Yeah. But I've realized that we have so much power in the words we say and the thoughts we have, and it amazes me how powerful our actions are and how powerful they're not. I tell people, it's not the cost of action that you should be worried about. It's what it's cost you up to this date to not take action is what you should really be worried about, because, we have time or money. Last time I checked, they print more money, but they do not make a 25th hour in the day. And we don't get yesterday back. And so, I've had some tragedy, as you know, in my life, that I don't define success by money. I don't think it means anything. It's just, if this was money, we would have 50 of these and you'd say, here's 50 of those. It's just a tool to get you something of more value than what I feel that's valuable. That's all it is.
So if a guy's trying to move a different direction, maybe they haven't lost their job like you did, but let's be honest, especially today, it's a good chance. Even a journeyman lineman could go, well, they're never going to AI is not going to replace me.
Or if you get hurt on the job.
How do you know? Yeah.
Right?
Or if you get hurt.
Yeah.
So if they want to start moving towards setting themselves up for something better, something else, or just be better in life and get better, you said, start asking different questions.
Yeah.
You said, start using words of affirmation, positivity, better words, right? Mm-hmm. What else?
You've got to start with the end in mind. So I'll give you an example. There's what's called the law of advancement. And the law of advancement says, before you go up, you first have to go down. So let's say that we're going to build a house. Before we build the house, we've got to build the foundation. We have to frame it out. We have to figure out how much concrete we have. We have to plan it all out. foundation's, let's say, 18 inches thick. Let's say I decide, you know what? I've got a lot of room. I'm going to put an apartment complex on this structure. Well, I couldn't use that foundation because it's not strong enough. I'm going higher, heavier, so I've got to go up, which means I've got to go down further. Now let's say we want to put a building like this here. It's got to be a much, much deeper foundation. And it's very specific to how many floors this building is going to be. We don't say, well, 20, maybe 40, see how we feel. It's very specific. The reason, and I've been doing this for 20 years and I've seen the patterns, right? If you look at patterns, it's very interesting to me. And if you look at the patterns of successful and unsuccessful people that are unsuccessful, they never build the foundation. They go vertical before they go down. They never go down. And when you look at a business, you have marketing, right? Marketing makes your phone ring. Sales picks up that phone, answers it, and they either turn that person into a client or they say it's not a client for us. Once they sign a contract, operations then takes that, processes that order, and fulfills the contract. Accounting makes sure that everyone is paid. And leadership sits over the top, inspires everyone, has the vision, and holds people accountable. That is the foundation of any business. I don't care if you're an airline. I don't care if you're a power company. I don't care. It is the same all over the world. What I just described is what's called an organization chart. That's all it is. Most people never take the time to actually identify the organization of what their foundation of their business is going to be. So when I come in and I look at someone's business, I'm like, you realize you're missing the northwest corner of your foundation. There's no sales. This is never going to work. Like, well, Steve, I got a good feeling. I'm going to hold it up for a little while and I feel good about it. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It will win. It will always win. So the reason I say start with the end in mind, I'll use an analogy for flying. If we were going to go from here to Hawaii, we have what's called a flight plan. And we have the routing, the weather, fuel, alternates. We have to work out emergency contingencies. Everything you can think of is reverse engineered from us landing on runway 8 left in Honolulu, Hawaii, and everything is reverse engineered back from there.
It makes so much sense when you say it. Like, yeah. Think about flying. Yeah, you'd never just like,
we would just get up in the air and go, hey, where do you want to go, Ryan?
Unless
like Alaska, Rio, you want to go to LA? And here's the thing. I've never been to any of these destinations. I don't even know what they look like, but I've got a good gut feeling that we could make it. Yeah. You'd never get in the plane with me. No. But why is it that we would start a business?
So true.
We don't know the routing. We don't know the weather. We don't know how much fuel we need. And what do? We just take off running. And most people that are starting a business are running away from the life they don't want. So we're either doing two things. We're either running towards pleasure or we're running towards pain, or away from pain, rather. Most people are running away from pain, if that makes sense. Yep. So when I say, where are you going? They have no idea. I'm like, well, then how do you know when you found it? Like if you were driving in a car, something as simple as Google Maps. Google Maps needs two things. Very simple. It needs to know where you're at, and it has to know where you're going. Very, very specific, the address. Now, based on Google Maps, you have what's called the strategy, just like a business plan. Based on these two things, if it's telling you to go here and it says make a left and you make a right, it's not going to anchor you back to go home. It's going to re-anchor you to the destination. So if you're driving on the entrepreneur highway and you pull over and say, hey, Steve, I'm lost. Could you give me some sort of direction? What's the first thing I'm going to ask you?
What's your end game?
Where are you going? Yeah. And you're like, I don't know, man. We're just driving. And I'm going to say, I can't help you. And that is why so many entrepreneurs fail, because they can't identify what it is. And they say they want a business, but to me, a business is a saleable asset that is running on processes, procedures, structure, checklists, and it is a definitive date. So when I start coaching people, one of the first things I ask them is what is the sale date of your business? And they come back and say, Steve, I'm never going to sell it. I didn't ask that. I said, what is the sale date?
So that's the anchor. That's the end. That's the first thing.
That's the destination. So you say, it's not that you have to sell it. It's that you own a saleable asset that is not running beside you. So it's got to have a day, a month, and a year. January 1st, 2030, I have a $5 million company with 35% margins, and you will see me 3 hours a week. That's a destination. So now that's just like a flight plan, just like Google, everything. That's where you're going. Every decision you make in that business leading there is when you hire an employee. Hey, January 1st, 2030, we will be a $5 million company with 20% margins and you will see me 3 hours a week. If you have a problem with that, you probably should not come work for me. If you have if this is not aligned, if we're going to Disneyland, if you're going to Magic Mountain, probably should not get in the car with us. And so the biggest challenge entrepreneurs have is they think working harder, and this is, I go circle back to what my parents taught me. If you want something, you have to work hard for it. The challenge with that is that's an old ideology. That doesn't work in today's environment and business. The hardest worker in the room is not the most successful. If that was the case, donkeys would be the most successful people on the planet, totally. Or animals. It's the ones that understand leverage. And if I wanted to buy your business, the last thing I want to buy is you. I want to buy your contracts, your systems, your processes. Yeah. That's what I want to buy. And so, but long story, to answer your question, if I'm an entrepreneur or lineman and I'm doing something and I want to start something, take some time, slow down before you speed up. Really ask yourself, what is the date that this is a finished product? What does it look like? Because we think visualization is 85% of how we learn. So if you can't visualize it, you've heard the term, a picture's worth 1,000 words. If we can't visualize it, how am I going to envision that to my employees, to my customers, to the banks to give me money? If you're like, and I ask people all the time, like, how do you identify success? They don't really know how to answer that. I'm like, well, then if you can't answer that, how do you think your employees are going to answer that? Or the banks? Or is it possible that success walks by you every day and you don't see it because you don't even know what it looks like? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I got so many questions about this thing. Well,
I got all day.
Yeah, no, but it's like, it's so interesting to me because like I come from an entrepreneurial background as well. My father started his own Powerline company and that's how I ended up in the trade. So it's in me. I got a media company. I did things. I'm always thinking that, but I've, like most people out there, don't know how to do it yet, right? Yeah. Like, don't know where to start and start with the end. That's great. That's great. Did you learn that like right at the beginning? Because you have like failing your way to millions in your book title. Like
I did not know that. I learned it as I was.
Yeah. Like at what point
flying
did you
the plane as you're in the air.
I gotta.
Yeah.
Start with the end.
Honestly, I am a big believer in self-development and coaches. I've had coaches my whole time. I believe that when you hire a coach, what you're doing is you're buying the thousands of mistakes that someone before you has made so you don't make them. Because what I've learned from successful people, and you can define success however you want, is their goal is to speed up the results. They don't care about the work. They want to speed up the results of the success that they want, whatever they define success to be. Yeah. And coaching bypasses that. And I tell people, you realize you're going to pay the bill either way. The bill will be paid. You're either going to pay in time or you will pay in money. It could take you 12 years of hunting and pecking and trying and failing, or you can do it in 12 months with me. But your bill will be paid. And you know, when you your question is, when you think about this, if I want to become a doctor, right? I can't just go into the operating room, pick up a knife and start cutting someone. I probably have to go to medical school to at least learn something, right? Even a nurse, everything. If I wanted to be a lawyer, I can't just go in the courtroom and say, hey, I'm going to give it a shot today. Wish me luck. I've never done this before. Yeah. Pilots, same thing. You want us to go to flight school. Even being a journeyman, you've got to kind of figure some stuff out before you start climbing poles.
Sure do.
What school do entrepreneurs go to? There is not one.
No.
And some people say, well, the school of hard knocks and ha. But my thing is that's why 96% of all entrepreneurs fail in 10 years. So you're going to learn. And I ask people, is what you're doing now, like people that are being an entrepreneur, if we know the number is 96%, and that is a hard number, that is a true number, is what you're doing now going to get you in the 96th percentile of failure? Or is there something miraculously that you're doing that's going to keep you in the top 4%? Because if you knew how to do it, why aren't you there now?
Yeah.
Because you don't, it's not that you don't have the ability. It's that no one taught the person how to do it. You just don't have the roadmap. And I've learned there is a recipe to be successful and there's a recipe to fail. And it's kind of like there's what's called the law of sequence. It's not just you have to do the right things. You have to do them in the right order.
Yeah.
So, for example, if we wanted to drive a car, right? You got to open the door, sit in it, press start, put it in reverse, and drive. All of that is done in our subconscious. We don't even think about it. It's kind of like tying our shoes. We don't think about these things. We don't just get on the car hood and lay on the hood and go like, is it going to go? We know that's not going to work because there's a sequential order. If you wanted to bake a cake, there's a recipe. You don't put the frosting on first and then shove it in the oven. It's not going to be editable.
Is there a recipe for every business though?
Yeah.
Like that every business follows? Because that was like my next question. It's like so many entrepreneurs get in the game and they're like, well, I'm at this stage. Well, I'm at this stage. And it seems different, but is it like, no,
it's
no,
not. The biggest inhibitor to success is the business owner's psychology. They're between their ears. I can, the skill, like, and again, I coach entrepreneurs all over the world of all walks of life, every type of business. It doesn't matter. I'm not there to teach them how to hammer a nail better. That's not my job. My job is to ask them, should you be the one hammering the nail? And what is the price point? What is the client acquisition cost? What is your lifetime value? I'm there asking some deeper questions and they're like, I don't know. I'm like, this is what we need to learn. Because listen, the best known will beat the best all day long. McDonald's, if anything, has shown us that. You know, there's some premises you have to know about business and business acumen. You don't have to be the best. You just have to have the best marketing machine. The biggest thing that most people mistake is they don't understand the fundamentals of marketing, meaning they can't even tell me who their target client is. There's an age, there's an income, there's a demographic, a geographic, and there's a problem that you're solving.
Yeah.
And when I ask people, who is that? And if they even hesitate, they don't know. And I'm like, so is it possible that your target client, your $1 million client, could be walking past you every single day, but you don't know them?
You don't even know what they look like.
You don't even know what they look like. Yeah. And they don't know you. They're going to say, that's not $1 million person. I'm not giving my business to him. He's busy messing around with his D clients for 50% of what he's worth because he's running scared, because he can't identify them. So again, these are the things that I'm a big believer in, and my high-level clients, I go deep into understanding the fundamentals. It's like playing basketball. If you look at any great basketball player, what do they all know? They all know the fundamentals. For you, maybe hockey, you know, the Great White North, sure. You know, but they all know the fundamentals. Yeah. And what do they practice all the time? They practice the fundamentals.
So what's the process then? Like the quick process, because like you don't have time to go in depth on it, but like the quick nugget of like, how do you quickly identify the things that are the major things you should attack first?
Well, my first question to someone, because everyone's different, right? Yeah. Everyone thinks they're different, but they're all the same in business. And my first question is what's on fire? You know, one thing I've learned being a pilot, they teach us how to prioritize issues. I'm sure just like you guys, Fire's if there's something going on, if there's, you know, for example, if we have an engine on fire and we have a hydraulic system and it's turbulence and someone's dying in the back and we're about to hit a hill, which one do we focus on first? And they put us in these situations and they start adding stressors to us to see how we handle these things. And obviously hitting the hill is probably the most important because nothing else matters. You know, we put the seatbelt sign on and impact, that doesn't help. So I've learned, how do you prioritize? So my first question is we're always going to have, we'll say, dumpster fires. We're always going to have those. But there's a raging inferno in your business, a constraint. And so my question would be what's on fire? What is burning to the ground? That's what we're going to deal with first. Everything else is going to burn, but it is necessary, but it's not as necessary.
And do you just look at like those core 5 or 6 or whatever they were? Like, let's look at marketing. Let's look at sales. Let's look at operations.
And so someone may say, well, Steve, I have a revenue problem. Okay, well, let's back this up. Do we have a sales problem? First of all, are people calling you? Yep, people are calling me. Okay, then you don't have a marketing problem. However, are the people calling you converting from sales? Because maybe they're not the right people calling you. They're calling me, they're converting, we're not getting the job done. Well, maybe we have an operations problem. Let's start looking at the processes and systems of operations. Or is sales selling something that's not standard that operations can't fulfill? So what is the flow? So I look at it from like a funnel. This is just how my mind works. Is I start it from the top and say, okay, do we have customers? And you can even do the reverse of reverse engineering. I believe in taking your client base that you've already worked with. Like, people don't realize they already have the data. They already have everything they need to build the perfect model. They just don't think about it. And the reason I say this is we're always worried about going out and getting new clients and new leads and marketing and doing this. But you have people that you've done business with. I teach, if you were to take your clients and grade them into categories, just like in school, A, B, C, and D. So if you take your D clients, the D client is cheap. They take up your time. They're always complaining. Nothing is ever good enough for them. Every time the phone rings, you're like, here we go, like 30 minutes. And everyone has that.
Yeah.
The C client is either cheap or they take up your time. One or the other. They're tolerable and they pay the bills. They're okay. The B clients are your silent majority. They're happy. They like you. You like them. You send them a bill. No problem. They're good. The A clients are just like the Bs, except that they're raving fans. They love you. They refer you. So if we took the A's and B's, pulled them out and said, okay, what is the average age? What is the average income? What is the average part of city they all seem to be in? Is there a certain industry they all work in? Most importantly, what problem did I solve? So let's just say in this conversation, you were my A client. You loved me. If I don't know, I would call you and say, hey, Ryan, like,
super fan.
Just curious, what is it that I did for you that you love so much? Well, you showed up on time, you abided by the contract, and you were very easy to communicate. Okay, our brains work in trilogies. So I asked 3 questions. Those were your top 3, and you label them. Normally when we answer, we will label them in importance to me. Good. So I will say that. So the first thing I said was the most important thing. That's how our brains work. So I take those 3 things. Well, the average person has 5.7 equals that you could refer me to. Birds of a feather flock together. Because if, let's just say you live in $1 million house and you make $500,000 a year, what are the odds you probably hang out with other people in $1 million houses that make $500,000 a year?
True
Well, if I'm a remodeler, I'm assuming that you're not hanging out with people that own $20,000 trailers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm assuming you probably stay in that circle. Mm-hmm. If that was the problem, that was your problem. And I interviewed every one of my A clients, and pretty much I kind of got the grouping that seems to be the issue. Why wouldn't I use that as my marketing message to go get more Ryans? Because if I'm fishing and that caught bait, that caught you, why would I change bait and go do something else? They're saying this is our problem and you solved it. I'm going to bet the odds and go, there's probably other Ryans out there that make $500,000 a year, that live in $1 million houses in the northwest part of Vancouver, and maybe they may have the same issue. So that's now my marketing message. And people that are similar, I know this for a fact, they're going to go, yes, that is exactly my problem. Yeah. Now, I would conversely do that to my D clients. How'd you find me? Why'd you use me? Well, you let me call you drunk on Saturday night when I'm complaining. You dropped your rate 50%, and you always let me complain to you, whatever. Where'd you find me? The penny saver. Okay, well, now I know what I'm not going to do on that side because I don't want you, because it's called Pareto's principle. It's an 80-20 rule. And those D clients, you make 20%, if that, of the revenue, but they take up 80% of your time. So your A and B clients are not getting your attention, but yet you make 80% of your revenue from them.
Gotcha.
So my point is, long story, that's where you start. Yep. Do I even have the right people coming through the door?
Interesting.
And am I rewarding them? Am I making them feel special? You don't even need, a referral program for a lot of people that don't have money to market, because marketing can be expensive. If you don't have money, start a referral program. Yeah. It's the highest conversion, highest margin, easiest to talk to. If I said, hey, you should use Ryan, man, he's great. People are going to go, hey, man, they said I should use you, so done deal.
And this is the thing with social media nowadays is there's ample organic growth available to you for marketing. Like it's better now than it ever has been. Yeah. You used to have to pay for an advertisement in a magazine or a newsprint. Now it's just like
the thing about social media, and I've been heavily entrenched. I have a conference coming up, so I'm learning more than I ever thought I would about marketing and AI. There's a trust deficit now. And the reason there's a trust deficit, you'd mentioned AI about taking people's jobs and stuff. And I do believe that is going that way, without a doubt. Not all jobs, but there's a lot of mid-level jobs that will be replaced. However, if I was going to speak at an event and I wanted to create a presentation, I can pretty much use AI and create an amazing presentation. I can create an amazing email. Heck, I can even create a video of not even me talking that I could send that I don't even have to be there. So everyone is equal now.
Yep.
So there's a lack of trust. The only difference now is when I show up to a conversation like this, that is the game-changing differentiator of going, so I believe human interaction.
Show up as a human.
Yeah. I think is going to be the differentiator of people, like people in the trade industry. I don't think you're going to be able to duplicate AI that, at least anytime soon.
I'm already getting annoyed with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I already scroll.
If you see something with a bunch of emojis, it's probably AI generated. I mean, there's things, there's patterns.
And I know it's getting close. It's getting close where it's going to be really hard to tell, but it's still going to, I think, drive people towards the actual physical human.
That's the trust factor. Yeah. And I believe that, I believe that things are evolving, and I think it'll go back to people in the trades industry will be the highest needed and requested, because everything else will kind of be automated, So I think it's
conferences will become important.
Conferences, in-person conferences of actually getting to shake hands with people and have conversations and say, would my life be better or worse with this guy in my life? Would I get closer to my goal of achieving my life with Steve there or not? Yeah. That's not for me to decide, but I agree. I think human interaction is going to become more important coming soon.
Okay. Shift a little bit here. I want to talk about real estate because I think it's something that a lot of linemen do as one of those side gigs. If they're not starting a business, they're starting some sort of real estate business. Talk to me about getting started on that. What's something they should be looking out for now? What's something that you learned from what you?
Yeah, I have made a lot of mistakes. I've owned quite a bit of real estate here in the Houston area. I own stuff all over the country now. And I've probably made every mistake and been ripped off and lied to by everybody you can imagine. I think they were just in line to take it from me,
What kind of stuff do you own? What space are you in, man?
I own single family. I own some apartment complexes. I'm involved in some self-storage facilities, and I'm involved in some land development. So, and I do some private lending of money. So kind of runs the gamut. Now, I've learned the basics on all of these. I'm not someone to dip into something. I believe in long-term wealth. I believe that your job or your business will make you rich, but real estate will make you wealthy. And so I believe if you have extra money, if you have a business, take that money and put it into income producing assets like real estate. Real estate is made to make you wealthy. That's what that is what it's designed for. And without doing these fancy things, I've spoken. I still do a lot of real estate conferences. I was just at one 2 weeks ago that had 1,700 people. Robert Kiyosaki was there, and I spoke there as well. The challenge nowadays is everyone is looking for that AI quick fix, and that is not investing. That is gambling. That is hustling, in my opinion. Investing is the compound interest of money, taking something, putting it in something, and letting it flourish, let it grow. I mean, it's not rocket science. So I will tell you, I owned an apartment complex not far from here, sold it, and I thought that I was very, very smart because I just sold a large apartment building. And me and my business partner thought we got this. We figured it out. It's easy. We got this. I will tell you, real estate has a very interesting way of letting you know when you have messed up. It doesn't discriminate, and it will come like a wrecking ball through your life, and it will dismantle anything that you have built. And it does not care.
Mountains, right? The mountain doesn't care.
It does not care. And so we started buying some single family properties. And the mistake we made, it wasn't the properties, because a piece of real estate is 4 walls and a roof. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's the business model running inside those 4 walls and a roof. And so we bought some lower end properties in not the best part of town, because on paper, they had very, very high returns. So we thought, we've got this. We just owned an apartment. We're good. Why buy one? Let's buy 20 in a year. And then we realized why people don't own these properties. And it was a nightmare. our average vacancy rate or average occupancy rate was about 8 months. When the tenants would leave, they would take parting gifts like electrical, air conditioning, wiring, light bulbs, plants, gravel. We'd come back to the shell of a house and we would do it again. And same input, same result. Same input, same result. So in our infinite wisdom, we thought, okay, we know how to fix this. Let's buy more of them. Now we have about 35 of these gems. And it was like taking gasoline and throwing it onto a bonfire, and it just exploded in our faces. In hindsight, you're like, how dumb, right? At the time, it just made all the sense in the world because like we're halfway through the mountain. Let's grow through scale. Once we're at scale, we can have staff. They can handle it. It was bad. I mean, I in my book, I talk about my story. It was bad. Sleepless nights, almost going bankrupt, and thinking, and the worst part about this is we did it to ourselves. 9/11, I can blame on, I can position that. This I did. I caused it. And one person asked me one time, he said, Steve, why do you own all these properties, these low-end properties? I said, well, they're going to be worth something one day, and they're going to, you know, I don't need the money now. I'm a pilot. I want them to be worth something. He said, Steve, these properties will never do that for you. These are not appreciating assets. These are cash flow assets because they're high turnover, high time, high touch, high intensity. That is not going to be worth much more than it is now. I thought that would have been good to know about 40 houses ago. Now I have 40 problems. And so we did get ourselves out of it. But the lesson I learned is ask yourself, what is the end result you want when you buy these properties? Because if somebody would have asked me, I'm not saying that would have changed my mind, but if somebody would have said, Steve, why are you buying these properties? I would have said, I want to have 10 properties that are producing cash flow that one day when I retire, 20 years from now, a tenant has paid down, right? And they're worth something. Now, there are 5 reasons that you buy real estate, right? And everybody focuses on the first one. So the first one is cash flow. And so for those of you that don't know, cash flow is the difference between what a mortgage is and what the rent is. And you get the difference, a couple $100 a month. The second is what's called debt pay down. Debt pay down means the tenant is going to basically pay down your debt for you. If you have a 30-year mortgage, after 30 years, good, bad, or indifferent, at some point, the tenant will pay down that mortgage to zero. So your return starts becoming infinite after the mortgage is paid down. The next one is depreciation. So a standard depreciation in the United States is 27 and a half years. So after 27 and a half years, the government says that's nothing. So that could go as phantom cash flow against your income. So you have cash flow, you have debt pay down, you have depreciation, you have equity capture. Equity capture is the house is worth $200,000. I buy it for $150,000. I made $50,000 technically. It's not realized, meaning I didn't get that 50, but it's there. Someone was motivated. Maybe they're moving, maybe a divorce. So they were motivated to sell that. And that's equity capture. The last one is appreciation. So if you take a piece of real estate on the East Coast and West Coast of the United States, it will double every 7 to 9 years in value. In the Midwest, it's about 12 to 15 years, okay? If you take cash flow, debt pay down, depreciation, appreciation, equity capture, a few of those things are going to happen no matter what, okay? You are going to be able to depreciate the property because that's the government allows you to do that.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Big, beautiful bill.
Exactly. And then the next thing is going to be the debt pay down. You could be the worst landlord in the world, but eventually you're going to put a tenant in and the debt will get paid down to zero. So these two are not going to happen. So now you have 3 left. You have cash flow, you have equity capture, and you have appreciation. So now you got to ask yourself, of those 3, what is the most important thing to me? So for me,
so it's different for everybody.
It's different for everybody. Because if I said, Steve, so it's
Ryan, not just cash flow. Also.
No, because if I said, I've got a job, I'm an airline pilot, sure. I don't need the cash flow. I want something that's worth more money in the future. Mm-hmm. Well, then when I'm looking at a deal, cash flow is not important to me. Typically you go, what is the one thing that is the most important to you? Is it cash flow? If he said, like, Steve, I don't have a job, then I'd go, well, then cash flow is probably pretty important to you. I don't care what it's worth.
It could be appreciation.
Could be appreciation. Everyone's different. So normally you always make one non-negotiable, meaning cash flow, appreciation, or equity capture. Which one of those three is the non-negotiable when you're looking at a deal? You said, Steve, I got to have cash flow. I need that. Okay, then that is the main thing. Now, if the other ones come, it's gravy. And you're going to get depreciation, you're going to get equity paid on. But that's the one you're looking at. So if you say to me, hey, Steve, is this a good deal? I don't know what a good deal is for you. If I could be looking at a strip mall that I'm going to buy for a couple $1 million, you buy it could make you go bankrupt. You're going to go, thanks a lot, Steve. You said it was a good deal.
Right.
It says a good deal for me,
right,
based on my needs. So again, not everyone is the same. And I know it's a long answer, but it's based on what are your needs and what's important to you. And most people think it's cash flow. Cash flow is ego. You're going to make a couple $100. It's not what people think. The biggest game changer in real estate is appreciation. If you think back, if anyone thinks back to 30 years ago, if they would have bought a house where they grew up, what would their life be like? If they bought 10 houses. I grew up in Los Angeles.
Dude.
Could you imagine if I bought 10 houses?
Anyone 40 plus right now just thinks back 20 years and thinks back to their first home even.
Yeah, think of that. Think of what that would be worth today if you had 10 of those.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
So same principle, what I hear too is like same principles apply to real estate as to business. What's your end game? And work backwards from there as well, right? Like if I'm thinking about getting into real estate investment, it's like, well, where are you trying to get to? Start with an end.
Yes. And so where you're going with this and where I'm kind of leading you to is real estate is a business.
Yeah.
And when I speak at events, I'm like, everyone in this room is an entrepreneur. Even if you own one business, you have income, you have profit, you have loss, you have expenses, you've got rules, laws, and regulations. So many regulations on the landlord. Most landlords have no idea, which is why they're the highest sued in real estate. But it is a business. It's its own entity business of itself. You have to have books. You have to report it. By definition, all of those things make it a business. The one person who doesn't think it's a business is the owner. And that's why they fail.
When you jump into this in the beginning, what's that thing that you should be thinking of? Like, because most guys, here's an example. Most guys just like, oh, I got 50 grand. I got an extra 100 grand, did a big job, got 100 grand. I'm going to go, that's a down payment on a single family. Let's go get something. And they just purchase it out of pocket. It's all on them, right? It's their income. They invested in it. There's no business structure around it. Should they immediately be thinking about a business structure? Like, should they immediately tuck that in an LLC or something?
That's a good question. So there was an organization called Bigger Pockets, big for real estate investors. And I used to work with them, and I did a thing where somebody won a thing, and I was helping him buy his first out-of-state property. It was a military gentleman, and COVID had hit, and I was tasked with helping him buy his first out-of-state property. And we did it while he was in lockdown at Camp Lejeune, Marine base. He couldn't leave. And buying a property out of your area is actually a plus because it forces you to run it like a business. You actually, in my opinion, why do you want it? I ask people, they say, oh, it's got to be in my neighborhood. And I say, well, explain to me why. They're like, well, I just want to touch it. I want to feel it. I want to see it.
You're buying a job.
Yeah. I'm like, so let me ask you this. I'll ask them, I say, do you own any stocks? And they're like, oh yeah, give me a name. Chase. I go, well, did you go touch Chase Bank? Did you go into the boardroom? Like, hey guys, I'm buying about 5 shares here. I want to make sure we're cool. Did you no, I'm like, it's just an asset. It's just an income producing asset. The reason we think about it as something we have to smell and touch and feel is because we live in a house. Mm-hmm. So we equate it to the same. But if it was a pizza shop, you wouldn't go live in the pizza shop for 6 months and go, okay, I'm comfortable. So to answer your question, I believe you should build the team first. You build the team before you buy the property, meaning property management. Listen, it is easy. You throw enough lowball offers out there, you can get a good deal. But that's like buying the best seed in the nursery. You still got to plant it, water it, nurture it for it to give you the fruit. Many people buy the best seed. They get a great deal, but they don't know how to get the revenue out of it day after day, week after month, year after year. They've never taken the time to create the processes, the procedures. Managing the asset is the hardest thing because now you're in the people business. You're managing a tenant, you're managing vendors, contractors. You're in the people business. You're not in the dirt business anymore. and you're managing relationships. And many people never take the time to learn how to manage relationships. So if you don't want to learn that, you sub it out to a management company. You interview them. Same way if you got a lot of times people will say, oh, management companies are horrible. I'm like, well, did you interview them? Like, how'd you find them? Well, they were the cheapest. Yeah. Okay, well, and you're shocked.
Friend referred you.
Yeah, friend referred me. They were the first ones who answered the phone. I'm like, okay, so like like if you put a tenant in the property, you would screen them. Why would you not make sure that this company is in alignment with your goals? Well, I don't know my goals.
The other apartments in the area.
Yeah. It's like, and I asked them, I go, well, did you make sure they were aligned with your goals? They're like, well, I don't know my goals. I'm like, okay, well, what's the destination? So it is exactly the same. Now there's some variances, but if you use the same premises I teach about building a business, there is no difference. What is the destination? How many houses do you want? Do you want one house that's giving you $50,000 a month? Do you want 50 houses giving you $1,000 a month? And what does that buy you? Because I don't think our level of success is identified by revenue. It's what are you doing with that? Some people say like, and I've coached a ton of people that want to get into real estate. So I'll ask them like, why are you doing this? Oh, I want to be able to live without any debt. I'm like, okay, how much do you want a month? I want $30,000 a month. Like, okay, so how much are your bills now? About $2,000. What the heck are you gonna do with the other 48,000? Like, is it, what I mean? It's like, well, I just want it. Well, I want to slam dunk a basketball. I don't see that happening either. So let's go back into reality and let's figure out what do you need, right? And let's get into that real world. I had a client, she hired me for coaching and she said, I need to close $300,000 because I want to take my family to India by December. I said, wow, that must be an expensive trip. And she goes, oh no, I don't really need that much. I said, well, what's the 300,000? I said, is that your ego? Is that ego and pride? She thought about it. I said, what does it cost to go to India? Like, what do you think it's going to cost you? She said, maybe 10,000. I'm like, maybe I'm missing something here.
Let's shoot for 15.
Yeah. I'm like, 315. I'm like, we're missing something. I'm like, why are you setting yourself up for failure? I'm like, how much have you made so far? She's like, none. I'm like, okay, well, we may want to tamp this down a little bit to reality.
Yeah.
So I think that we say things because we want to push for that. But I don't think we really think those things through. Meaning when people talk about buying real estate and doing that, they never think of what is the real estate going to give you. Yeah. Real estate is just a tool. Whether you are rehabbing properties, flipping properties, short-term, long-term, those are just strategies. That's like saying, I'm a car. And that's it. It's like, no, the car is a vehicle to get you somewhere. So the car is a vehicle to take 45, to go 45 south, to take it to Galveston, to spend the day with your family. The car is just a vehicle to give you the results of spending time with your family. You miss that whole part about the family. And this is something I see in entrepreneurs all the time is we get so busy being busy, we kind of forget why we're doing something. And so going back with the end in mind, tell me about your day in Galveston. What is that going to look like? Visualize that. Our brains are magnificent that they will bridge the gap of how to make that happen. It's kind of like when JFK said we're going to go to the moon. All the engineers are like, it's not mathematically possible. We can't do it. He made it the vision and said, you guys figure it out.
Yep.
And miraculously, they did in the time frame they were supposed to. Many people never create that vision of where they want to go, so they just drive around their subdivision all day with no success, and they can't quantify success to themselves.
Yeah, I love that. Start with an end game in mind, and then where would you suggest start? So say like, I got this big end game, multiple properties, 30 million in real estate assets. That's my end game. Uh-huh. Should I start with a hotel? Should I start with an apartment? Should I just start with a single family?
I would say, listen, I think that one of the biggest challenges a lot of people have is they don't want to make a mistake. So they're like, okay, how do I do this and just crush it out of the gate? I'm like, maybe we should look at this a different way. Maybe we should say, hey, the first 5 properties I buy are probably going to be mistakes. And I'm probably going to learn a lot of lessons. And I probably won't have these properties after a while. Be okay with that. Be okay with failure. Be okay with taking the first step. Nobody cares if you mess up. Like, that's the one thing I learned. At the end of the day, nobody cares about people's problems. They don't. Like, oh, I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to buy this property and lose money. I'm like, okay, so let's walk through this. Let's say you buy this property and you lose money. What happens then? Well, I got to pay a check. Okay. How much do you think you got to pay? A couple $100. Okay. Is that going to put you in your, under the bridge? No, I'll be okay. Okay. So it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Sun will come up tomorrow. You'll be okay. And I'm guessing you will probably come up with a solution. So my point is you just got to start. Going back to what I learned.
Take action.
Dude, I made so many mistakes. I got ripped off. I got lied to. I listened to people. The quote unquote real estate professional I learned is a little different than an airline professional. Different set of standards. And I just assumed the word professional meant they were professional. Doesn't really work that way. And so I learned different rules, different game. I got to act a little differently. And so going back to your thing is, don't worry about where the end game is. Create it, visualize it, and you will get there. Reassess your portfolio. Listen, I always tell people every year or 2 years, reassess your properties. Are they doing what you thought they were going to do? If they're not, let's cut out the cancer. Let's cut the dog. It's okay to sell properties. And this was a challenge I had when we had all of our properties. And they were bleeding us to death. We were losing money. It was like every month we were putting money into the properties. And finally, someone said to us, they go, why don't you guys just sell these things? I'm like, I don't want to sell them. I'll lose money. And he goes, what do you think you're doing every month? And it was just like, it was that light bulb. I'm like, he goes, it's like you're killing yourself with a spoon. He goes, just rip the Band-Aid off. Come to closing, bring a check, be done with it. Because he goes, what you're not realizing is the mental stress and the energy that you're taking away from what you should be doing. And you're dealing with something it's dead. It's a dead man walking.
Right there.
And I thought to myself, I am putting all this energy and focus on something that I'm never going to keep. I don't want them. And it's robbing me of my focus. And I'm like, and so one of the properties we came and we brought a check. And we were the happiest people in the world. Yeah. The guy buying it was happy because he was getting a deal. We're like, everyone's happy. Yeah. And case in point, I run into this guy a couple years later. And I'm like, hey man, how's that deal? Thinking you got, and we told him, he knew the story about the property. We'd never made money on it. He goes, oh man, that's my best performing property. I'm like, shut up. He goes, no man. He goes, that is the best deal I have. I go, there's no way. I go, we lost money on that deal all the time. He goes, Steve, you don't understand. You had the wrong business model running in that property. You tried to run it as a passive investment with no involvement from you. That's not these types of properties. And that was my lesson, 4 walls and a roof. He goes, it's the same 4 walls and a roof. I'm just running a different model through it. It's like we see businesses come in and out all the time. Some stick, a lot don't. It's the same 4 walls and roof, doesn't change anything. It's the marketing, it's the business model, it's all of that. That's what changes it.
Love that. That's so good. Tell me about Jett.
Yeah. So Jett was my son. He passed away 2 years ago on a motorcycle accident. He was 19 years old and he was a welder. He went to school for welding and he was actually going to go to CNC mechanic school in North Carolina for NASCAR. And he was, sadly, he was on a lunch break and he was just going to the store to get a drink. And he went through an intersection, wasn't speeding, wasn't at fault. And somebody made a left turn. They didn't see him and hit him. And he passed away right there. And obviously just a horrible, horrible tragedy. He was our only child. And what I realized is after he passed away, I'll say this. He was a great kid. He lived life. He traveled to 20 countries. He bought his first rental at 14 years old. He scuba dived. He was black belt. He flipped knives. He was big into knife flipping. He lived an amazing life. I just didn't realize it would be compressed in 19 years. And I started a scholarship foundation for children high school kids, young men and women that are trying to get into the trade industry, welding, automotive, journeyman, all these things, but they can't afford it and they don't have the financial means. And so 100% of all the money I get goes to help these kids. We've placed quite a few kids, whether it's helping them buy a car to get to school, whether it's books, whether it's giving them a place to live, whatever they need to get them there. What I realized after he passed away and this is, people ask me why I do what I do. Yeah, coaching, be a pilot. I'm a pretty busy person. Because I tell people, many times entrepreneurs go through life, and people, even not entrepreneurs, just people with jobs, and they're always busy. They're always busy with one thing or the other. And they always say, one day I'm going to do that. One day I'll take my kids on vacation. One day I'll do this. And I tell people, if you ever get a knock on the door at 10:30 at night, like we did, that one day will never come. And all those memories will cease to exist at that moment. So I ask people, do you want to be the person that says, I'm glad I did it while the time I had together with a spouse, a child, a parent, whatever it is? Or would you rather be the person that says, man, I wish I would have spent more time? And that's why I talk, money means nothing. Money really means nothing. I don't really have anyone to give money to. I'll probably donate it, whatever. Maybe nieces. But I think there's a lot of people out there that could use help. I really do. I think a lot of people, entrepreneurs, I help a ton of people. I speak at high schools. I just, any way I can help people, I do, because I think, there needs to be more givers in this world. And I think there's a lot of takers. And I think there's a lot of people that have ulterior motives to why they do things. I have no reason except to help people. As parents, and I don't know if you have children or not.
3.
We always think that our job is to teach our kids. We always think it's our job to teach them right from wrong, be responsible, do the right thing, show up on time. And I realized after Jett passed away, maybe he was here to teach me to enjoy life more, because he lived life like he enjoyed it. That's why the scholarship is called Live Like Jett. And I just think to myself, like, I never thought that a child would teach me. I always thought it was my job to push it down to them. And after he passed, I thought, maybe he's telling me to enjoy more, to slow down, to relax, to enjoy the moment. And I think my job is to help other people do the same. And whether it's get the job that they want, not only do I help them get the job, but through people that I know and people that are willing to help, I help try to place them in jobs, because just going to school for something is not helpful. So doing that and getting them the job to actually give them the life. And some of these kids, I honestly think it's changed the trajectory of their lives, because they wouldn't have these things. They were going to go work at the local HEB grocery store or whatever. And that's fine. I've got no thing, but they really wanted more. And me being able to give that to them through the generosity of people donating. And I speak at a lot of places and I donate. I've got a conference coming up. The proceeds will go to that. I just think more people need to give back to the generation that's coming, because there's a huge deficit coming of people in the trade industry, whether it's automotive, mechanics, welders, journeymen, whether it's people climbing the wind tunnel thing. There's not many people that know about those jobs. And I think it's a problem coming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a massive problem.
Yeah.
Mike Rowe was just talking about it the other day. There's 650,000 open positions in the trades for people to walk right into right now.
Yeah.
They can't even fill them.
Yeah. I mean, automotive, car dealerships. I mean, and I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of people surround themselves around me, just knowing, what I've gone through and what I'm doing moving forward. Just asking how they can help. Just how can, donate $5, donate $500, whatever you can do. Have me come speak somewhere. Like I don't care. Like it's that's just what I'm doing to help or help other people that have lost their children. I'm not a savior. I get up every day and I'm a big believer that we make a choice every day of the person we want to be. And every morning that we have a zero moment that we open our eyes. And the question is, am I going to be better or am I going to be worse than the day before? And if I'm carrying in the junk from the day before, I've already made the decision. Because I can't, it's 86,400 seconds. I don't get those back and I can't bring them forward. All I can do is live in the moment. And my son, I think he taught me that. I really do. I think that him being here, you never think you're going to bookend your children. It's never something that we think is going to happen. It's
I can't imagine.
It's the nightmare, right?
Yeah. The one.
If somebody would have said, what's the worst thing that could happen? That would have not even been in my hemisphere.
No.
of life. Like I would have thought, well, going bankrupt or whatever, me passing away, my spouse, any of those things, I would have never, ever have picked that until you get the knock on the door. And that's it. It's over. So I say all that I'm not a martyr. I'm not, I'm trying to make people aware that there are kids out there. There are good kids, hardworking kids that want to learn these trades. They just don't have the means to do it. That's really all it is. And, if people that are business owners or people in this industry, if you're having trouble getting these people, they're there. You just maybe got to look a little bit further, but I can tell you they're out there.
How do people get involved from both perspectives? Like say I want to give and say I'm a kid that needs the help. Yeah.
So I have a website. It's called Live Like Jett, Jett. And we have both options on there. They can apply, or they can, people want to donate, they can donate. And we do functions. Like I said, I've got a conference coming up, and all proceeds from the charity auction and stuff will go to help these kids. I did an event, raised $130,000 at a big conference. People were nice enough to donate, which was, very nice. But that put like 4 kids through school.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it from depending on what school they want to go to, whether it's HVAC welding, whatever. But, I've been in touch. There's a school here called Tulsa Welding School. I've talked to the president. I turned out that he lost his son the day after I lost my son, which is kind of weird. But we talked about doing something together and collaborating. And just, again, just being aware that, hey, we can, I don't want my son's memory to die that way. I want it to live on, and I want to help people. And I want kids to know that, there are people that college doesn't have to be for everybody. Yeah. Listen, I went to college. I'm a believer in it, but I don't believe it's for everyone. And I think that I speak at a lot of high schools, and I go in there, I'm an airline pilot. I'm pretty educated, but I don't think that's for everyone. And I tell them, are you okay? Because if not, I won't speak. It's fine. But I want to give these kids the real life that, when they leave, they're making adult decisions, and those adult decisions could have prices and debt attached to that you're not even going to do.
Yeah.
So why do it? There's a lot of, and again, with AI coming, I think a lot of these trades are going to be in high demand and high paying. Listen, during a recession, I'm not negotiating with the plumber if my, pipe is broken. I'm going to pay what he says. It doesn't matter what is going on. My electrical's out. I'm going to pay that, right? It's I'm not going to say it's recession proof, but if you are an entrepreneur and you understand the business basics, which now these kids that have gone through, I'm starting to teach them the kind of business basics and the fundamentals to try to help them a little bit as I can, as they evolve into young men and women.
Until humanoids can do what we do, we'll be doing it.
Absolutely.
As far as the trades go.
Yeah, I think in our lifetime, we won't see that happen. I don't believe.
Yeah, there's at least one generation, hopefully.
Yeah.
Still building stuff with human hands.
I would agree.
What else you got going on? How do people get in touch with you? That sort of thing.
Yeah. I have a conference coming up. It's called Mach 5. And it's for people in the trade industry. It's right here in Houston, Texas, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I've got some really, really top line speakers. A very good friend. He's a Houston local. His name is Lee Labrada. He owns a nutrition supplement line. He's been around. I used to read him about in magazines when I was a kid. He turns out we are very good friends now. He is speaking. I've got a lot of people in the contracting trade industry that have built their lives. There's a gentleman, his name's Tony Flatham. He's coming down. He's got, I don't know, maybe a $20 million business, but he uses his business to buy real estate now as we're talking. So he's an entrepreneur. Nice. My coach now, so I'm coached, his name is Eli Wild. Eli was the #1 closer for Tony Robbins.
No kidding. So
he understands the human psychology of why people buy, why they sell, understanding why we buy, why we sell, the identities. He's going to go deep into that. I just have I have 14 speakers on this roster.
Wow.
It is just, and these are tactical things. It's not inspiring to go out and run 100 marathons. This is going to be tactical things that you can do. Yeah. So it's Mach 5, and the website is Mach5conference.com. So really that, and just I coach a lot of people. I help a lot of people. I'm very, very generous with my time. That gives me energy. That inspires me to be a better version of myself. I really enjoy if people message me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm very available. As a matter of fact, I've got this high voltage shirt that I'm wearing, compliments of a buddy of mine that supports me, and he believes in what I'm doing in the Live Like Jett. And I get energy from that. And if anybody has a question or they want to talk to me, you can reach out to me on my website, steverozenberg.com. You can go to Instagram, any of those things. As you can tell, I have a wide variety of knowledge, maybe too much in some things. But if anything helped someone or sparked an interest, I'm happy to share and do what I can to help.
Dude, amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This content is completely free. All right. The only thing I'm asking you for is to hit that subscribe button. And I know it's cheesy. I know it's corny. I know every YouTuber asks you to hit that button and you're probably sick and tired of it. But if you like the show and you want to see the show grow, this is the way I prove to the people in charge that it's worth investing in. So it's pretty simple and it's the price you can pay for me. It's no money. It's just a subscribe. Please hit the subscribe and I appreciate the heck out of you for it.